Welcome on in, everybody, to the Keys and Credit Podcast. I am Ethan Rebuck with Cutler Real Estate, sitting here with Brian Winkler with Pursuit Lending Group, and this is the first one. So obviously we have a lot to talk about. I think we should start just by introducing ourselves. So, Brian, do you want to start off by letting the audience know, who you are, some credibility behind what you've done the last year and so forth?
Yeah, absolutely. Excuse me. Again, Brian Winkler, Pursuit Lending Group. Been in lending since 2003. Pursuit Lending Group's been around since March of 23, so about a year and a half. Signature Mortgage, a lot of folks in the area know Signature really well. I was there for about 14 and a half years before we started Pursuit. What's gone on in the last year is anybody in this business just trying to survive, man.
Yeah.
Trying to keep our head above water. We're doing quite well, but it is a difficult market out there.
Absolutely. Yeah. So what do you enjoy to do in your free time?
Got an RV.
Yeah.
So a little bit of camping, fishing, golfing.
Love it.
That's about it, man.
All the good stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and I'm Ethan Rebuck with Cutler Real Estate. Cutler's been in business for over 75 years. Myself, I'm on my first full year finishing that up and going into second year, right? And so I think that this is going to be an interesting complex of, being in the business for a while and someone who's more fresher and the ideas we can bring together. But other than that, just love spending time with friends and, family and, getting out in the community and doing different stuff that way. Love a good game of golf. I'm not good at it, but you get me a 12-pack out there and I can go a 9. So awesome.
Absolutely.
Cool. So obviously we're coming back from Thanksgiving weekend. So let us know what happened then. I mean, does work just stop during that period? Thursday, or are you back right into it? What?
For me, and I'm sure you as well. Yeah. Actually, last Wednesday, kind of came into the day thinking, it'd be kind of holiday-ish. Usually it's a little slow.
Yeah.
But no, I actually got 3 contracts that day. People
Awesome.
Weren't pre-approved. It was a crazy day. Was left alone for the most part on Thursday. Got a couple calls, just, but right back at it Friday, another pre-approval Saturday, Sunday. So
yeah.
Normal. What I like about the big holidays, the Thanksgivings, the Christmases, usually I can at least know that day is a day.
Yeah.
Where Memorial Day, Labor Day, I'll get phone calls. Somebody needs pre-approved, they're going to get pre-approved that day. But yeah, it was pretty normal. How about you?
Yeah, it was good. I'll tell you, spent some time with family, obviously eating in the morning and then watching football. And I told, a few different clients, I'll probably find myself in the office on Thursday in the evening, but only because I won't get any calls. Everyone else is out doing their thing. So everything that was on the back burner, or things that I couldn't get done because of the present deals, I needed that time, away from the phone and so forth. But great comment on the holidays like Memorial Day when you'll be out there on the lake, writing a contract or,
Which is it's a good problem to have. If
Yes.
you're having that problem, then you're successful.
Yeah.
I mean, if it's Memorial Day weekend and Friday through Monday you don't get any calls,
Right.
It's a miserable weekend.
Absolutely.
You want to be getting those calls. So no, and I need those times too, where the phone isn't ringing. I can just do data entry, paperwork, research in some cases.
Right.
I did not do that on that Thursday.
Yeah.
But those are great days. So some mornings I'll get up at 4 or 5.
Okay.
And knock that stuff out because I know 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be on the phone all day. So that definitely you want to be doing that. So that's good stuff. If you took some time on Thanksgiving Day to do that, then good for you, man. That you're doing the right thing.
It's hard, but after you get past the first 2 football games, I was like, you get in there. But it's funny you bring that up, about your schedule. What does a typical day look like? You say waking up early, and I know myself, same concept of, you're always getting phone calls during the day, getting bothered. So getting up early to get some of those things done. Yeah. Take us through like a day in your life.
It varies. Right now, I've personally been kind of busy the last couple of weeks. So when I'm busy like that, and we've got personal lives too. I mean, we've got swim meet to go to tonight. We got a wrestling match on Friday, I think. So you got to plan ahead. Like if I've got a lot of data entry stuff I don't need to be on the phone for, then yeah, I'm probably going to get up, depending on how much work I've got. 5, 4. I've done 4 o'clock before, just to have 2-3 hours with just me, get that stuff done because that phone will start ringing. Now, if it's a little slower, then you can kind of plan around that. It's all about figuring out your schedule. Because I'm not a big fan of waking up at 4 or 5 in the morning. It sucks.
Right.
But sometimes it just makes especially when you're getting close to the weekend, stuff's coming. If you can knock that out Thursday morning, Friday morning, bright and early, and now it's over, then you just got to answer the phone the rest of the time. It makes it a little bit, and that's the beauty of our job, is we don't clock in, we don't clock out. We clock in, we never clock out. It pretty much is the way that works. Yeah. So that's fine. I mean, so last year and a half, what's still trying to figure that out? Like,
I'll tell you what, like when it comes to waking up in sometimes I like to keep my schedule fluid.
Yep.
Have creativity in there to do what I need to. But as, going year and a half in this business and going on to, year 2 and beyond, I think it's going to be crucial to have some of those things that are in place. Yep. So there's different things I do, community involvement that I know I have to be there at this time, but everything else I keep pretty fluid. Not a big morning person. I've definitely tried. But we know with being in this business that it is so easy to stay up late too. Yep. Getting calls at 10 o'clock at night. Yep. So that makes it really difficult.
Well, and that's where you can, you don't have to do it in the morning. You
can
do it at midnight.
Oh yeah.
I've done that too. Hey, it's 9 o'clock. I've got a couple hours worth of work to do.
Right.
I'm feeling good. All right, let's just turn on something stupid on the TV and go to work. So it doesn't have to be in the morning. And I'd rather do it in the evening too. But as the kids get older and think, I don't have all the evenings that I used to, So, but yeah, in the evening, whenever you can figure it out. I mean, it's your schedule.
And one of my best practices for locking in is when I get in that office, I have a JBL speaker.
Yep.
Turn on, Van Halen, all the good stuff.
Van Halen.
And just get into that mode, whether I'm sending emails or whatnot. The calls interrupt that, but it's okay.
Yep.
So
yeah, I think the secret to our success, I think, is that phone. Yeah. Somebody calls, unless we're on the other line or doing a podcast.
Yeah.
I'm answering that thing, and then we're getting right back. If I'm in a meeting and I see whoever called, I'll text them and say, in a meeting, I'll call you right back. It's that instant touch, because you can't walk down the street without running into 16 of you and 15 of me. These people don't have to use us.
Absolutely.
So to me, it's during regular hours, 8 to 8, try to be as available as I possibly can. So if that means working until midnight to take care of some stuff or getting up early, I think the biggest thing we've learned over the years is that is the biggest thing.
Yeah, communication. Sure. I've definitely seen. I've gained clients because other agents, lost communication. I'm sure same thing for you. If I can't reach a loan officer during the day, and I don't have a text back or something saying where they're at, well, obviously I'm going to be looking into other avenues because reliability, and we know with how the market is right now, how fast you need to move sometimes and react.
Exactly.
And I definitely agree. Communication, I tell people that all the time. And everything else, being a likable person and different things but schedule is, I'm starting to learn, is a real key to this business.
It is. Even a couple of calls that I did get on Thanksgiving, it's all right. But you got to take it.
Yeah.
And everybody around you, the family's like,
right.
What are you doing? It's like, well, you don't understand. Your paycheck's going to be the same next week, whether you would have answered the call or not. Mine might not be. So, availability, in my opinion, is the biggest thing.
And let's talk about that. So when it comes to receiving phone calls and different, texts or whatever, I myself, when it comes to family, friends, you're out, having a good time, and you have to take a call or a text. I mean, you've been dealing with it for a long time. Have they kind of just molded into it and accept it now, or because I get some pushback on it, from time to time. So I'm sure your wife and what it's like.
Oh, she's good with it.
Okay,
they all understand. But it's nothing like getting a group of 4 or 5 guys together that you've been buddies with for a long time. That phone rings and they're going to get you.
Yeah,
and that never changes. That will never change.
Right,
unless they're in a similar line of work to where they've got to be on call.
Understand it.
If They are. Then there'll be, because I got a few friends that are in sales and they get
Right.
it. I got others that aren't, and
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, they're living that 9 to 5 dream.
Yeah.
I'll tell you,
Exactly.
they always remind me of it.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, like when I went to Japan, that's 12 hours, and I got called early, and we were just out, and I answered it, and he was like, "Aren't you in Japan right now?" Like it was a client.
Huh?
I said, "Yeah, yeah," but hey,
Well, it's something that client will never forget.
right, absolutely. First time home buyers and so forth, and that's also one of the crucial things I think in real estate is having that impact and going above and beyond. And I'm sure with being in the business for so long, just going the extra mile.
Well, it's funny you say that. If you look at our logo and a lot of our stuff, there's a number 5280 in there. How many feet are in a mile? 5,280.
Wow,
We go the extra mile. So I'm glad you said that.
that's awesome.
I always forget that.
I didn't even know that.
I always forget that it's even there. It's one of those things that we haven't marketed all that well yet. But yeah, if something like that client will never forget that you
Absolutely.
answer when you're on the other side of the world.
Yeah.
So that
What's-
kind of stuff is huge.
Let us know of like a story. Like, what's the craziest thing you did for a client?
Craziest thing I
And,
did.
and let me tell you, I don't like to say a lot of times some of the crazy things I did because I don't want my other clients getting any ideas.
It's one of those things where, how fast can you close?
Right.
Just close 1 in 2 weeks, but
Wow.
I
Yeah.
don't want everybody to assume that we're going to do
Yeah.
that on every deal. Craziest thing for a client, man, oh man. Off the top of my head,
So I can start with mine.
yeah, please.
So
I'm sure
I-
yours going to be way better than mine anyway. So,
I've done some crazy things for clients that never turn out. You know what I mean? Customers in that sense, and then they don't turn into clients. But I had a single mom at the start, and she had no one to move her. Family was working and so forth. And so I took 8 hours out of a day, grabbed a U-Haul, and we packed it up. But I'm very cautious, and look, I'm telling it on this podcast now, so I don't know what's going on here. But I tell people from time I won't tell people that story, but here it is.
no, that's awesome.
Yeah,
I mean, my younger days, I think I've helped someone paint
yeah,
some stuff around their house. There was an FHA.
FHA, yeah,
And it needed painted, and she didn't do it. She didn't know anybody who could do it. And we went out and did it.
yeah,
So you're more interactive with the client than
absolutely.
what we are. I try to go to as many closings as I
Right.
can because that's the only time
Yeah.
I've ever met them. Behind the scenes stuff, things that, calling whoever it may be, the government because they've
Right.
got an IRS lien or things that the client has no idea what's going on. And at the end, we're all pumped on our side going, look at all the client never knew. And I don't want to bring it up to the client because I don't want the client thinking, man, I was this close to not, so most of our stuff is kind of behind the scenes, making phone calls.
Absolutely.
And fighting for them
Yeah,
and leaving them out of it because why stress them out
True.
if there's no need to?
Yeah.
But painting a couple windows was probably the craziest thing as far as out there doing
yeah.
it.
I know. Still in loan officers, not a lot of loan officers will do that, and it is going that extra mile. They'll remember that because FHA and so forth, they don't have the money to throw towards that, and so a loan officer, a real estate agent, getting a ladder and a paintbrush and doing some work is truly a lifesaver for them in that instance.
Yeah, and as you develop a network,
Yeah.
Now if I needed a window painted, I got guys who can do
Right,
that. So
we're not doing it.
I'll send one out there, maybe hook them up, maybe we'll barter or something like
Right.
that. You go do this for me, and I'll take care of something, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So, crazy. That's kind of everyday stuff.
But you've had a lot of years of craziness, so I'm sure it's hard to.
Yeah. Up until 2009,
Okay.
I kind of did where I worked. We did the whole country.
Yeah.
2009 forward, once I got the signature and on,
Yeah.
most everything for the most part is Northeast Ohio.
Absolutely.
So I had some crazy stories about doing loans, different laws in different states too.
Right.
Massachusetts and a few other states aren't dower right states.
Yeah.
So those are states where you as a husband could go buy a house and your wife never knows about it. In Ohio, you can't do that. So I've had a couple a husband in one case and a wife in another case.
Wow.
Call me the day of closing, freaking out because they caught wind that their significant other just bought a house and they're going to do all these things. I'm like, I can't give you, I can't tell you anything.
Right.
But anyway, so those are the crazy things that you see. But that was a long time ago. Now Northeast Ohio, it's all pretty
chill
normal stuff.
Yeah, I'll tell you, it's the first question we ask them. When I'm going to sell a house, or you got a wife? So it's definitely a crucial part of what we do in Ohio and confirming those things.
Yeah, you'll run into those people who say no, and then you find out, yeah, they're married, but they haven't seen that person in 14 years.
Just separated, yeah.
That can be a big problem.
Right.
So, and part of in our business is asking those pointed questions and getting straight answers, and that's why I'm not a big fan of online apps.
Right.
I like to hear how you answer the question. If I ask you, so do you work 40 hours a week? If you say, yeah, then we're going to keep going because it doesn't sound like you work 40 hours every week. But if you just put that on an app, it's 100% yes, I work 40. So talking and reading people and how are you answering these questions can save you a heck of a lot of time.
And I have to do that. I'll tell you, when starting out, vetting clients, right? And when you are a young, hungry agent and you just got people, you find them from wherever, open houses, ads, or whatever you're going to do, you just feel obligated. I don't got nothing better to do. The check's not guaranteed. You have nothing better to do, but you go out there and you waste a lot of time doing a lot of things that you shouldn't. And in the end, now I look back and I'm like, why did I drive to that person's house 10 times to get a paper signed? We know it's all electronic now, but you have those clients. And I specifically remember driving an hour down to Tuscarawas multiple times. And you get told by friends or family, because you tell them the stories, you're crazy. What were you thinking? And that's what this business does to you. It makes you crazy.
It definitely makes you crazy. Driving, getting stuff signed, I'll still do it.
Right.
You got folks that just don't do anything on the internet. That's few and far between these days. But
we make them emails now, right? That's
100%. I'm not, and Brittany will watch this, my assistant. She's amazing.
Yeah.
The best processor that the industry has.
Well,
We'll
that's what I tell people. That was one of the, tricks, or I don't know. It's not even a trick. It's the easiest thing to do. I'll sit there and still be on the phone, go over contracts like I do with every client, but it's so much easier if we just have the electronic sign. I don't have to worry about losing a paper, because I've lost papers before. I feel like I need to scan them as soon as I get into my car. So just the easiest thing to do.
Well, in our world, a lot of our paperwork has socials on it.
Right.
That flies out the window. I just let somebody else have my client's social. You got to be really careful about some of the stuff that we handle. And we are very regulated, so they're always looking at us.
Absolutely.
You got to be doing everything exactly right.
So talking about regulations and going back, obviously, we both two different times in real estate. So getting in 2003. What are some of the challenges that you were going through in those first few years? Because I know I have my challenges I can share.
Well, back then there was no e-signatures, so it was going to the house. So you'd set up your day, and I'm going to Aurora, I'm going to Stowe, I'm going down to Dover, and that was your day. And you'd handwrite your applications. Nothing was typed out. That was a huge challenge. And looking back, I can't believe I stuck around through all that.
Yeah.
But back then was the same thing you're going through, is trying to develop that clientele base, and how do I do that? And it took a while. And my first 5-6 years were all lead generated.
Okay.
So I didn't have to go. So when 2009 rolled around, after the mortgage meltdown, I was I had to get out there and find some real estate agents and financial planners and develop a group, a network, and that clientele base. And that was those first 6 years. Even after that, 2-3 years after that, really my first probably 9-10 years in this business were difficult. If I would have been smart and recognized in 2003 what I recognized in 2009, that was get on the street, dummy. I would have been successful a lot more successful a lot sooner.
Yeah.
But the mortgage meltdown, that was always a challenge. You can talk to anybody that was around in that. Boy, that was.
I know it's not a fun topic.
No, it's not. It was. It teaches you a lot. It teaches you to, number one, don't, in our business, because we're commission, do not live like you make what you make.
Right.
Because there's nothing worse than going to the mailbox and not know how you're going to pay what's in there.
So you're saying I shouldn't buy the new Mercedes?
Oh, man.
I'll tell you. I won't throw any shade, but we see it. We see between loan officers, real estate agents, and different financial advisors, whoever it might be in sales. Mm-hmm. They get those big commission checks. They go out, they lease their nice Mercedes.
I did it.
You did it?
Oh,
okay.
Yeah.
I kind of want to do it now. I mean,
Yeah.
But it's that image though, also. So it is a factor, but also people want to know that you're doing well, so that they trust you and you're doing multiple deals and so forth. So it's such an ego world we're in, and it's hard sometimes.
It is. I learned back in those days that the ego is really not that important. Like, it really isn't. It is nice to have, the truck that you want, the car that you want, and maybe you'll keep you up at night sometimes think about how you're going to make the payment. But in my opinion, after years of doing this, I don't think it matters. Right. I think what matters is taking care of that client. That client's number one.
Yeah.
And most of those clients don't care. If anything, especially when you're younger, if you show up in a nicer car than theirs, they're actually going to think the opposite.
Right.
So it's one of those things where everybody else in our business, we want to pound our chest and this is how good I am.
Yeah.
But if your goal is to be successful and this make this a career, it's the client that matters. That's
absolutely
that's the bottom line. So as much as you may want to,
yeah.
I did it.
I don't think it's happened.
Mistake. I spent the money as quick as it was coming in, and 2007 was a great year for me. And then 2008 happened.
Yeah.
I had nothing left over from 2007 when 2008 rolled around. So it taught me back then. I basically live like I make a quarter of what I do. I don't want to.
Right.
I don't know when that's going to happen again.
No one knows, and that's the thing. So it's crazy. But yeah, definitely. When I was getting in, right, year and a half ago, a little bit past that, we've had a huge shift in personal branding, right, and doing things like this and the podcast and so forth. And one of the things that I was really stressed getting in was, reach out to Facebook friends, reach out to, whoever. It's sphere of influence, who's around you, friends, family, so forth, reach out to them. I felt uncomfortable doing that. And me getting into it, I didn't realize that that's what you have to do. And I was so stubborn. The first 2 months, I didn't do any of it. Social media posts, cool, whatever, make a still little post. But I wasn't reaching out to anyone saying who's looking to buy or sell. I shot myself in the foot, doing that and being behind the curve because it was 2 months. I said, this isn't working, which getting into real estate and I'm sure lending, think, it's just going to be great. Just clients going to come and, everyone I know is going to want to use me and so forth. But it was that shift, then trying out. And then I'm sending 300 messages a week, on Facebook. And I told a young agent I met with the other day who's only 6 months in that in the start and when you're making videos, when you're doing some of these out-of-the-box things, you got to look like a clown, and it's just part of it. So being different and being ahead of the curve, and I think it's interesting, where you said even at, the span of 5 years, if you would have just done what you did at that 5-year mark, where you would be there. But that's all part of this learning, and I love it for that.
Well, luckily it only took you 2 months. It was 6 years.
Well, we still, hey, come back to me in 5 years and see what I should have been doing, because I'll probably.
You'll be better off than I was after 5 years, I promise that. But yeah, I mean, you always got to do things that are going to make you uncomfortable.
Right.
Trust me, this is my first time.
Yeah.
So I'll be 46 next week, and this is the first time doing a podcast. So,
I love it. It's going to be all over social media and everything. And
huge. Joe Rogan, look out.
Right. Yeah. As long as they don't, my family, we have a group chat,
Yeah.
and they'll take my videos sometimes. It'll be like a freeze of like me, like, and they'll go in and they'll post it, in our group chat. And I'm like, what do I even say to this? So it'll be all right. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, man. I forget what I was going to say. But you do have to get comfortable doing, it's funny. I had a guy, maybe my second or third year in the business, and when he said it, I didn't think I'd really registered. But he said, every day you got to make a phone call that you don't want to make. And for some reason that stuck with me. And then I was watching something with Nick Saban a year or so ago, and he said that you've got to get comfortable having uncomfortable conversations. It's the only way to grow. And he's 100% right. I mean, if you're doing everything every day that you're comfortable with, all right. I mean, if you want to grow, though, you get out of your box. You got to do stuff that you don't want to do.
Absolutely.
Because I'm not a sales guy. I never thought I'd be a sales guy. It's not.
You don't want to be a sales guy to be in this business.
Guy, man. I just want to take care of my clients and let them send me their friends and family, and that's really how I look at it.
Yeah.
My agents, they get updates. I figure if I take care of those people, then I'm fine. When you really sit back and you think about it, it kind of calms you a little bit. Because as long as you're doing the right things,
right,
you're going to be fine.
Absolutely.
A lot of folks in our business that don't do the right thing. A very high percentage.
That is a whole conversation for a different episode. Am I right?
Yes.
Some unethical things, and
keys and credit. Yeah.
Yeah, keys and credit. That's right. And sometimes I just have to sit back and laugh because you can't say anything. We're such a relationship-based business, even between agent and agent, loan officer and agents. So you can't. And we were talking about this with another agent in our office the other day. You can't burn bridges in this industry, even no matter how bad a transaction is, no matter how it's all about getting to the closing table, ethically for that client, and that's it. So a lot of times, you'll have personalities. You got big personalities in this business. You got to put it aside, right? And you just got to get the deal closed and make sure that client's happy, and that's it. So, and I'm sure you've seen plenty of big personalities over your.
Oh, there's many times you want to make that phone call. I'll tell some of our guys, I'll type out everything I want to say,
right,
in an email, and then just delete it. That actually helps.
Okay.
It helps me at least. I can call you every name in the book and delete it. All right, we're good. But yeah, you have to. Again, you got to. What's best for the client? Is what's best for the client for me to call that agent, that appraiser, that insurance agent, title company, whatever it is,
right,
and really tell them how I feel. Is that going to help my client? Probably not.
No. And when it's something unethical, for me, like I just ran through this with the deal, and it wasn't even an agent that was directly correlated with the deal, and I won't get into it, but I told my manager, Lisa Lingenhole, great lady, I said, make the call so that I don't have to. And sometimes that's the easiest thing, to just step back and say, I don't want to say the wrong thing.
It's very difficult.
Right.
Sometimes not to say what you want to say. But again, it goes back to that. And yeah, oh man, there's a lot of stories. We could fill up 5 or 6 podcasts with some of the crap.
See what questions they have. I'm sure we'll be hit with all of them, right?
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah.
It might be some of those same people that are.
Absolutely, yeah. Like I was not talking bad about you in that episode.
Exactly right. It wasn't you.
Right.
But,
so, yeah. But, talking about the past and moving towards the present, we just had an election, and we're rolling into winter, the slowest time of the year for sales in general, and then the election. I want to keep going back to that because no matter which way you think or whatnot, doesn't really matter to us salespeople. What matters was the halt we had.
Yep.
And I feel like I'm feeling the repercussions of that now, but what have you seen on the lending side with the uncertainty of what's going to happen?
I think now that the election's over,
yes,
there is going to be some stability. And now that we know, regardless of who it was,
right,
at least we know, and things can kind of stabilize a little bit. I actually got pretty busy. It took about a week. The last 2-3 weeks, I've been pretty busy. The phone's
right.
working pretty good. And I think a lot of that has to do with people were waiting. A lot of folks are just waiting to see what was going to happen before they decided to sell their house, buy a house, whatever. So there was a lot of those people that now they know and they're looking. I still think there's a lot more people out there, especially current buyers or owners, that want to sell. The prices are still high, interest rates are still high. I think once rates come down a bit, we're going to see a huge influx of listings because there's a backlog of folks that want to sell. They want to downsize, they need a bigger house, whatever it may be. They're just not doing it because they don't want to pay the price and they don't want to pay 6.5, 7.5, whatever the rate is for their situation. I think now that all that's over, we're thinking more June, July, August of next year is we're going to see some significant improvement in rate, which we're going to see a lot of houses hit the market. Meantime, we just keep fighting the fight like we've been fighting for, what year is this? 3 years now. And we're okay with that.
Yeah. And I think consumers are a little ignorant to the facts, right? And knowing what's actually happening.
Right.
I had a client, he called me, and I've worked with him multiple times over the last year, an investor. And he said, oh, well, Ethan, aren't we going to see interest rates drop and home prices drop? Trump's in office. And I had that conversation with him. I said, first of all, if home prices drop drastically, we got a different problem on our hands. Huge problem. And then, you're probably not going to be talking to me because you're going to be thinking about, job and all that. That's a whole huge crash. Yep. So, and then with interest rates, if interest rates drop, that's great. I want interest rates to drop. Yeah. But if we don't have the supply uptick, you're going to have more buyers, and that's going to raise home prices. Yep. So, dream scenario, interest rates are back to 2.5%, and everything's great and dandy that way. But people don't understand what it actually looked like during the market. They don't understand that's why home prices, exploded over the last, 3 years. Some people have, 50% equity in their home because of that.
Yeah.
So it's an interesting time to explain that to the consumer and to say, if we start building more homes, if your income gets higher, those are all things that we can actually, measure and see, and interest rates. But it's so many more layers than that, and I know you can attest to that. It's not as easy as General Powell, or what's his name? Is it General Powell?
Chairman.
Yeah, Chairman Powell. Chairman Powell. Whatever that old guy is. But it's not as simple as him saying interest rates are going down on the federal side, and so speak to that, as far as interest rates go. When Chairman Powell gets up there and says that Federal Reserve is dropping their interest rate, can consumers expect to see an instant drop in their mortgage rates?
No.
Okay.
No. The best example I can give is heading into August of this year. It was widely. Now, the Fed did say, and many, many people, smart people, said that we were going to see 4 or 5 rate cuts this year. Going into August, we hadn't seen one yet, even though they kept saying, a couple months. Yeah. But we knew that in September, because we had some pretty bad employment numbers come out finally in August, that they were definitely going to cut. So mortgage rates actually went down in early August in preparation for that cut in September. Turns out they probably shouldn't have cut, because once that cut happened, I think it was a few weeks later, rates went right back to where they were prior to August. So we had a small window of maybe about a month and a half with rates that were maybe 0.5% to 0.75% better than where they are right now.
Yeah.
So I think they're cutting again, but it takes more into consideration than just the Fed rate cut. Yeah, and you're right. A lot of people think, I'll get a phone call. Fed cut rates today. What's my rate today?
Yeah, well, I'm not at 3, Brian. What's going on?
Trust me, the folks who set interest rates, they know a lot more than we know.
Right.
And they're going to do it before, so a lot of times stuff is baked in before it actually happens. And then if that thing doesn't happen, look out. Then it can get even worse.
Right.
So usually you'll see our rates adjust, mortgage rates adjust prior to the Fed doing anything. Whether it's we are expecting them to raise it, so we're going to raise ours, or we're expecting them to lower it, they're going to lower ours.
Right.
So it's not. It does play into it, but it's not that day. Oh, we didn't know what the accused. They always have an idea of what's coming.
Yeah.
Because they look at all the numbers. But yeah, now the 2.5%. That ain't going to happen.
We're not going back.
That's not going to happen.
Not going back.
It never happened before COVID. It's probably never going to happen again. But 4 and a half.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's what I tell, because I have consumers and they call and oh, I'm ready to buy a house. But, then they find out what interest rates are and what their payment is. Oh, I'm at 2.5%. Why would I leave here? And I have to have that hard conversation. Like, I do expect them to come down over time, as I'm sure everyone does. But 2.5% are not realistic. 4.5, even low fives is a good thing.
Yep.
And I think where people are hurt and homeowners are hurt is because of the increase in property values.
Yep.
What we've seen from 2020 and beyond now, and that was also because of interest rates, for the most part, because supply and demand. When you have a stop, in the market, and then there's no one's wanting to sell, of course you're going to have a, crazy low supply and a lot of demand that increases home values 40%, which is insane.
Well, I've never had so many buyers that nothing's happening with, and it's been this way for years now. So yeah, we don't have a problem with people looking for houses.
No,
we need houses.
I know.
What we need. And I think the rates are going to be the big driver of that. And as far as prices going up, these people who own right now, it's not going to be, even though the new house price is going to be a little high, they're going to be able to sell their house. So it's not going to be so difficult for them to pay a higher price. Because they're going to make quite a bit on the back end from the sale of their house. But
first-time home buyers,
difficult.
Okay, yeah, difficult. So what is some advice you have for that first-time home buyer out there who feels like he is just abandoned?
Well, I mean, I'm pretty good at boiling everything down to just facts.
Yeah.
As long as your credit's okay, your debt to income's okay, and you've got some kind of, we do have down payment assistance stuff. Everybody, every lender has down payment assistance programs.
Right.
My best advice for anybody is kind of what we talked about before with us is don't live beyond your means.
Yes.
Save as much as you can. Pay your bills on time.
Right.
And that's pretty much it, and see where we're at. My advice, if there's anybody out there who is thinking of buying a house at some point, really even in the next 2 years, not the next 2 months, 2 years.
Right.
Call me now. Let's make sure your credit's okay. Make sure there's nothing that needs fixed on there. It might take a year to fix something. I did some damage to mine when I was 23, 24.
But they're scared to.
Correct. So I guess my best advice to first-time home buyers is call someone like me.
Right.
Even if you don't plan on buying for a while, because there might be something you need to work on.
Right.
And they can give you some really good advice on what to do. They'll look at your budget. Hey, man, take $500 a month. Stick it over here. By the time you come down to buy, you might have $3-4 grand sitting in there. It really didn't impact you. So that would be my best advice: is talk to someone like me as soon as you can.
Especially on the lending side,
Yeah.
and that's really your main control is, how much do they need a month and so forth. And definitely great advice there because, you'll have buyers come to you, oh, I'm ready to buy. Well, you're a year out, so.
They're devastated.
Oh, they're devastated.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And then we're the bad guy. Don't make us the bad guy.
Exactly
So, for me, when it comes to, I work with a lot of first-time home buyers, young people, 20, 24, 25 is honestly my average age. And one of my best points of advice is you can't be like your parents. You can't find your forever home on the first one. It's just probably not going to happen. Now, I will tell you, you can get your forever home, but it's going to need some love, So if you want to go buy a house and, you buy it cheaper and it's a bigger house, it's just going to take some love over that time. And if not, then we just need to scale back, because what homes that they, their parents were looking at, now $300,000 houses. And that's a hard conversation, especially with the wife.
Well, if you're like me, I hate moving. So,
right.
But yeah, now back to conversation from earlier. It's awesome that your clientele base is, because those 25, 24s, 26s are going to be with you when they're 50.
Absolutely.
And they're going to be buying at that point, who knows, $1.5 million house. You never know.
I know we're both hoping that right now.
Exactly right. Well, by the time you're that age, I'm gone. But yeah, you've got to, like, realistically, guys, like, it's okay. You qualify for a $150,000 house now. Great, let's buy that house.
Yeah.
Let the equity build up in that, and then 3-4 years down the road, then maybe we buy the 400,000. And in the meantime, your house has just been paying you money that you're going to cash in on when you go to sell. So, yeah, our parents bought homes that they're still in.
Right.
Today. That's not the case anymore.
Yeah, and one thing with these young first-time home buyers, they're worried that if they buy a house and say they have to move in 7 years, because that's the average time someone stays in a house, because they're a growing family, they're worried, will they have enough money to buy the next house? Will that house actually appreciate in value? And every time I have to tell them, look at a chart. You know, even if you look at the 2007 crash, okay, 13 years, fast forward to 2020, what happened? You know what I mean? So I think my core point for home buyers in general is if you're in it for the long game, you'll most likely win. Yeah. You're not going to lose. Now, if you sell at the wrong time, it's just, luck of the draw. But you're not flipping houses, so you're not selling this thing tomorrow. So the biggest problem that you can come into is a job loss, and it's life. We know how it rolls.
I got to pay your rent. I mean,
right.
One way or another, you're paying something.
You're getting evicted.
Something.
Yeah,
exactly right.
So that's awesome. Yeah. Well, cool. Yeah. Well, I think we'll just be kind of ready to move into next week and get this second podcast underway. Do we have anything we want to bring up before we sign off here?
Happy holidays.
Happy holidays. Awesome. So thank you, everyone, for tuning in. We're going to have some great topics to bring up next week. The Keys and Credit podcast. Yeah, so I'm excited. If you guys have any recommendations, feel free to comment on any of our stuff. Hopefully this goes viral and we're killing it.
Take it easy on us.
Right. Thanks.